Welcome to the Filmsteins, the double feature podcast. Join us as we unravel the interwoven experience of the continuous conversation of cinema. Take part in pairing movies with their cursed counterparts, movies that share DNA, or even pairing questionable duos by joining our Patreon at patreon.com/Filmsteins. We offer tiers at the $1, $5, and $20 level, where the $5 tier will grant the ability to request films to further the discussion. So grab some popcorn, sit back, and get ready to join the 100-year conversation. This is the Filmsteins, where movies are more than just entertainment, they're an experience. All around you. And welcome back to another episode of the Filmsteins. Thank you guys for joining us today. I am joined today by my dirty friend, Lucy.
Hello, everyone.
You can join us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for brand new episodes of the Filmsteins. Some recent episodes include All of Us Strangers, the combo episode of Dune 1 and Dune Part 2, the Filmsteins Awards, Imaginary, and The Babadook. Remember to leave nice comments, thoughts, and ideas over on our Patreon at patreon.com/Filmsteins. Leave nice reviews on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. Come subscribe. Come request a movie. We appreciate all the support. Thank you guys so much.
Are you stressed and filled with anxiety like I am? Maybe in a bit of pain from that car accident you had a few years ago? Well, the sponsor of today's episode, Hempville CBD, has us covered. They have the highest quality products created by chemists and doctors. Hempville carries everything from CBD to THC dispensary grade without those despicable dispensary prices. Order your Delta 8, 9 edibles and vapes along with the THCA flower and get free shipping when you spend $50 or more at HempvilleCBD.com. Check out the link in the description for more details.
But today we are discussing Emile Ardolino's 1987 joint, Dirty Dancing. I'd never seen Dirty Dancing prior to the other day. I didn't even know about the world famous quote of nobody puts baby in a corner, whatever it even is. I was like, okay, I didn't know that was a thing, but apparently it's a thing. I don't know what rock I was living under, but after watching this movie, I am happy to report back that this movie's fine. It's good. I was a little taken aback when the plot really ignited off of Penny, is that right? Going through a back alley abortion. I was like, okay, that's funny. This is funny stuff. And the launching point of like Dirty Dancing, this erotic dancing, whatever, being treated as like an orgy, especially in that one scene, like something sexual, I thought was very fun. I guess that makes sense, especially coming off of Elvis and stuff, you know. Remember the Elvis movie where that girl in the front started moving and it was like a big thing? I wasn't around back then. I don't know. People dance these days, so I don't know. But I know you're a big fan of Dirty Dancing. You recommended this. You brought this to my attention. How do you feel about Dirty Dancing now?
Well, let me start off by saying that I was really excited for you to watch this, first of all, because you'd never seen it. That's like one of those rare classic movies that I've seen and you haven't. There's not very many of those.
To be honest, I'm a little suspicious of the significance or like the kind of cultural significance of this film, and in that I don't really feel like it's that big, but in a way I do. I don't really know why I feel like it's big because I don't really see it anywhere, but I'm not sure what that is.
Yeah, that's true. You could say that about a lot of classics. And this movie also wasn't of our time. It's not as quotable as something like Mean Girls is for our generation. But I can only imagine how this movie was back then. Especially with the infamous quote, "Nobody puts baby in a corner." So I don't know. That would be interesting to see. But I remember when I first watched this movie, I was about like 15, 16. And it was like at that perfect age that this movie was, you know, fun and kind of spoke to you in that way because you're, you know, this is a film that's very fun and sexual and coming of age. And I was at that age too, watching this for the first time. Not to mention that dance movies are probably another guilty pleasure genre of movies. For not only me, but I bet a lot of people. I don't know how popular they are, but we have enough of them out there and People love them. The people who love them really love them.
Yeah, I think the modern pinnacle of the dance movies probably the Magic Mike movies, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I would assume so, right? But rewatching it, it still has a lot of those fun elements. But, obviously I'm at a riper age. But it's still very fun. It still has, decent performances and a great soundtrack.
One thing that I thought was missing from this movie was its musical numbers. This movie felt like a musical without the dance and song bits. And I don't know if that's because we got half of that, we got the dancing, so I feel like we were missing that kind of complete stripping of the subtext, like we've talked about before in a lot of musicals where the subtext is no longer subtext, it is just the song. And of course, there's rarely ever subtext in romance movies, right?
Right.
But I almost feel like a little dance and song would have helped elevate this movie a little more.
Yeah, I don't know about that because that's one of the charms of dance movies, of them using songs or songs of that time to make you feel whatever they want you to feel. No original music, no singing. This is just about the movement. Another dance movie that comes to mind, which is also one of my favorites, is Footloose, the original one. The new one's okay, but that's just about being rebellious and having fun, and I don't know how much it would benefit from a musical number. But I could see maybe like a modern rendition of this film maybe being turned into a musical, making it more fun in that way. One of the things I really like about this movie is just how much fun Johnny and Baby are having at this resort. Yes, they're going through some life stuff. We mentioned abortions. There's class issues going on, but nothing takes away from them just being in that puppy love infatuation stage. No one's here to get married. No one's here to fall in love. We're just here to like have fun and be sexual and not think about what's next or forever. And I think one of the scenes that really represents this is that scene where they're mouthing that Love is Strange song and they're being like super flirtatious and seductive on the ground and just, having fun. And that's probably one of my favorite scenes from when I was younger, just kind of also being infatuated with them on how much fun you could have with a person. Not necessarily be head over heels or whatever, but just living in the moment. Although now looking at that scene, now thinking about it, it's like on the verge of cringe, but it's still good. Not to mention that scene where Johnny is trying to do a dance move with Baby and he like lifts her arm up behind his neck and then like tries to caress around her, like down her arm, but she's ticklish, so they have to redo it, and you can't help but to like laugh with them, especially also being a very ticklish person.
What sets Dirty Dancing apart from every other sappy, romantic, kind of runaway love?
Yeah, this like forbidden love kind of movie. I think there's something that's trying to be said without actually saying it in this film, especially it taking place in the 1960s, being made in 87. I think there was a specific reason to make this movie set in the 60s. I'm not exactly sure what, but I know the 60s are a time where the upper and lower class, there was a big division. I think that's when the book The Outsiders took place I think in 65. And that's one of the big dilemmas there, the socias versus the others. I don't remember their name. And not to mention Baby's journey of becoming a woman, going from Baby to Frances. There's something there too that a lot of romantic movies lack. We don't really give a lot of character development to especially our girl, to our lady protagonist. I think we've given Baby something here that's worth looking into a little bit, which I thought the director was a woman, And that's where my mindset was at with Baby, kind of having this like feminism, taking power of your sexuality kind of thing, which still could be true, you know, from a guy's perspective, but that's just what gave me an inkling that I thought the director was a girl. And there was also, at the end of the movie, something that was said by the hotel resort manager that made me think that there is something underneath here that definitely makes it stand out from other romantic films. Those are just sappy for sappy's sake, to make you feel in love or to make you feel like you too one day could have your romantic partner. The resort manager makes a just like a 1 or 2 sentence statement about things are changing and things aren't going to be the same anymore, and how kids nowadays just want to travel to Europe and they don't really want to stay at resort places like this, and he just feels a little pained about it.
No, I get that. There does seem to be this kind of underlining thing, because like you said, we have Baby going from the Francis, we have her dad being prejudiced towards, you know, so-called lower class working men guys like Johnny, with no rhyme or reason really why. You know, he's just making preconceived notions about X, Y, and Z, but more importantly, Johnny calls him out on it. That, you know, you don't know me. We have that weird slight towards Ayn Rand, the abortion thing, this almost pornographic style of dancing. It's bizarre. It all kind of coming together like this. I'm not sure exactly what it is. It may have been one of those things where you really had to be there to get that full message, being part of that political temperature and social turmoil and everything. But it definitely is more than just that sappy nonsense.
This film took place around the time where the civil rights movement was, you know, at its highest. We have the Vietnam War. We have the Cold War. So there's definitely something around this time that I haven't quite sure figured out. I like that you bring up that slight towards Ayn Rand, because I never once thought about it until you said it, and now I had to think about it. What was the purpose of adding that in there? Was it just to make Robbie look like a condescending ass and he reads, you know, Ayn Rand and fancy books? Or was it trying to say, and you're way more familiar with Ayn Rand than I am, but she's really big into individualism. And did Baby just mistake individualism for selfishness? Like, is this what we have here? Because he says, and correct me if I'm wrong, he says not everyone is going to make it, or you can't, you got to only look out for yourself. I'm not sure how he phrased it. And then he hands Baby the book, and then she says, "You make me sick," and slaps the book away. So I don't know if it was just something towards Robbie, whatever Robbie would have handed her at that time, she would have just slapped away, or if it was a true slight towards Ayn Rand.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what kind of slight or so it was, but he said some people count and some people don't. And of course, that's true in many scenarios. Like, it's a very relative thing. I've always been mildly confused by the villainizing, demonizing of Ayn Rand over time. I know there was a period of time where it was just fun to demonize her. I think through like Reaganomics and stuff like that, throughout Reagan's era and stuff. I'm not exactly sure. Don't really care, to be honest. I know she just has wonderful ideas here and there. Shout out to The Fountainhead. Go read it. And Atlas Shrugged.
Yeah, I need to read it. I think I've only read Anthem, and I've read and reread Anthem, and it's also go read it.
Of course.
I didn't know that about Ayn Rand and how she tends to be villainized like that. So this probably was a slight towards her beliefs.
She's a really outspoken woman who doesn't have a formal, proper academic training background. So I believe there might be something to do with that and trying to poo-poo on her ideology. But I thought it was funny, that whole scene, because I was just like, okay, Penny is pregnant. They want to get an abortion. we see how an abortion goes wrong and how it can be kind of really harmful. And then Baby tries to bring Robbie back into the fold of like, this is your problem too. And I just thought it was kind of funny because it was this weird tug and pull around abortion. And I know there's some like abortion thoughts that this movie has kind of sparked in criticism and stuff. And a lot of people have taken it as pro-abortion. I didn't take a stance out of this at all, but I thought it was kind of tiptoeing right down the middle at the very least because, yes, there's choice. I guess there's never a pro-abortion. It's choice, right? Pro-choice. There's choice. We see the horrifying consequences, right? Where we need to bring in a second pair of hands to correct this decision, but also trying to guilt the other party into that this is your problem too when he also has a choice. So I just thought it was kind of a funny combination of things happening that I was not expecting out of this movie.
No, for sure. And I never even thought about that either, how that was a catalyst for our two lovebirds here. But I think the main issue with Robbie was that he has money saved up and that he needs to help Penny because no one else has money. And Robbie is a busboy. He's the one who's going to Harvard, to these, Ivy League universities, and has been working his ass off this summer to get money for college. And these boys are the ones that are taking the daughters around and seducing them. So they're getting really big tips. So they were just trying to get at least some money out of Robbie because he obviously had it. And the others did not at all whatsoever. And I get that. It's not his responsibility to give it to her, but there was no other way around it.
Yeah, but justifying his action through Ayn Rand was just the bizarre angle. It's like he's a principled man. He's gonna give and take whatever he feels like. And so they're giving this character a shitty situation to demonstrate how shitty Ayn Rand's principles are.
And see, that's what I don't understand either.
Like, they're not connected.
And that's what kind of makes me think it doesn't matter what book of the time or what smart intellectual book Robbie would have handed her. It was just the fact that Robbie had the audacity to give Baby a book and say, here, read this. But of course, no director just makes that kind of choice. It was very intentional. So I don't know. I'm there with you on that for sure. I've been thinking about it, but I don't know.
I, at the very least, found it very interesting that this was the catalyst to everything that come to be. I also enjoyed from a structural standpoint that the dirty dancing, the orgy-like dancing was just a launching point, and it wasn't like central to any message. It was just the attraction to get Baby involved and to literally become into Johnny. One thing I really didn't like about this movie that I thought was just so stupid was Baby's relationship with her dad. And there was just this weird thing where she just couldn't tell him certain things at certain times. And she was just like, I can't tell you. You just wouldn't understand or whatever. I don't know. It's just like, why? I don't know what that is. I thought that was so weird. Just say it. Not that big of a deal. You're not doing anything. Maybe this has something to say about modernity and how we've normalized dancing in the way we have today.
Yeah, Baby is obviously a daddy's girl. She starts out the film by saying that was the summer before Kennedy was shot and blah, 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 and that I'd never find a man as great as my dad. So we're already building this, at least this idea that Baby is a daddy's girl and she can do no wrong. I don't know if that's a thing with daddy's girls, that in their daddy's eyes, they try to just please them and don't want to let them down in any way. That's what I'm imagining is going on here. And that's why at one point, Baby's sister, Lisa, tells her, you're just mad because you're not daddy's girl anymore. He listens to me more. And I'm not too sure about it either, but I thought that was just another catalyst for baby growing up, no longer being a daddy's girl.
Sure. But it also kind of hangs me up on her dad being a doctor, an MD, and the class divide existing between him and Johnny and his friends and stuff. Because as a medical doctor, he's probably mostly around blue-collar oriented people anyways, working on them, working with them. So you'd feel like there'd be more empathy there out of the gate with someone like him.
Well, he has empathy with Penny, not Johnny. He has all the empathy in the world for what Penny's going through and coming in and checking on her and not asking her any questions.
That's fair.
Not accusing her of anything. But because he sees baby being a little too close to Johnny, and especially when she admits that they slept together, that's when he just lost it. Also, I have the feeling that he maybe works on the richer folk because the resort manager said, if it weren't for this man, I wouldn't be here today. Kind of making me feel like maybe he works on the upper class.
This might be a stupid question, but does the elite have their own doctors?
Maybe back then.
I don't know. Figured there wouldn't be enough of them to...
Yeah. Oh, I don't know.
Okay, yeah, I mean, that makes sense, because Penny was his patient. That's where the empathy is most essential. Johnny's still just the punk.
Yes.
That's...
the man boy.
Taking his daughter away, flaunting his shit around. He's probably a little jealous. He was like, I used to look good too, and now I'm a dad. So, that's fine.
One thing I thought was weird was baby starting out the film narrating, and then we completely lose that. She starts out the film narrating that summer, like a flashback almost. And we don't have any closing narration.
I didn't even notice it. That's a great point. That's a total oversight.
Like, well, there you have it. That was the summer I learned about back alley abortions. Like, I don't know.
That's great insight. It's bizarre to have that as your opening sequence.
Yeah, that's our introduction. Her in the car. I think she was reading a book. I don't know what book she was reading. And she was narrating her thoughts about that summer I met that boy. I don't know how else it could have been introduced. Another thing I found kind of funny in the film was when Johnny speaks out about being a victim to all these rich old ladies trying to seduce him.
That was funny.
And I can't quite place...
I have feelings too.
Yes. I can't quite place if it fits here.
No, they didn't build up for something like that. It really was just a tactic of his to
get laid,
to get to baby. It's like when you tell your new girlfriend, you're like, how your old girlfriend would do X, Y, and Z. She'd beat me up. She'd say all these nasty things, and then new girl's like, you don't gotta worry about that. I'll take care of you.
I'll never do that to you. Yeah, exactly.
That's what was happening.
That's what that was happening. I thought there was a message here, but that's hilarious. It fits. It fits with the whole like young puppy love.
And they may have been trying to say a little something there, but that's a little bit of maybe stay in your lane a little bit, because you're not that kind of movie. You're not setting something up like that.
Right.
If Johnny was the main character, we may have been able to spin that in a more coherent way and it not be so funny. Because the funny thing is, if he's like serious and we take it as it being funny, it makes it kind of sad, because like, damn, he just wants love and he's getting abused by all these cougars. But yeah, they leave just enough there that you can spin it as him just being kind of 4D chess, kind of flirtatious.
One last thing before we wrap up here, I want to just give kudos to the soundtrack. This is a really iconic soundtrack. Every song in here is awesome. This is one of the ones I've had on repeat for many, many years now. And I think people know these songs because of this movie now. It's like Life is a Highway. You only know it because of Cars. Or All Star by Smash Mouth. You only know it because of Shrek. That's where your mind goes to. And I love it. I did see people give it a little bit of hate because apparently these songs, or some of these songs, are not from the 60s, but they're probably from the 80s. But that doesn't matter here. Come on.
That's funny. Well, man, thank you for watching this movie. Thank you for bringing it up, making me watch it,
You're welcome.
and talking about it here today. Do you have a budget guess for me?
So my budget guess is 9,087,000. So in today's money, it'd be about 25 million.
Okay, so it says here, without accounting for inflation, thank you for giving me both, it was at the time $5 million.
Oh.
So,
A little off?
a little off. And it went on to make, again, without accounting for inflation. So this is going to be a shocker. $214 million.
Holy crap.
It made a lot of money.
That's awesome. I mean, it's iconic. Man, he was set for life. Emile.
Yeah, he was. And apparently over on Letterboxd with 701,000 people, they weighed in at a 3.6 with a weird hiccup in the graph. That being an abnormal amount of 5 out of 5s.
Oh.
So it's inflated. Otherwise, it'd be like more like a 3.3 probably.
Okay. I'm torn between a 3.5. It's such a good movie in my memories as well that I can't help but to give it that extra bump. But kind of comparing it to other movies that I've given 3.5s, I'm not sure. So I'm still torn between those two.
I hear that. I'm thinking about giving a 2.5. But thank you guys for listening to this episode of the Filmsteins. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Remember, we post every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on patreon.com/filmsteins, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora. Remember to leave nice comments, thoughts, and ideas over on our Patreon. Come request a movie, come subscribe for $1. We appreciate all the support. Thank you guys very much. But until next time, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Filmsteins. Thanks for tuning in and joining us on our cinematic journey. We hope you enjoyed the discussion and gained some new insights and perspectives in the world of movies. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform, especially Patreon at patreon.com/filmsteins. And follow us on social media for more film-related content. We love hearing from our listeners, so if you have any feedback, suggestions, movie recommendations, or book recommendations, please feel free to reach out to us. Until next time, keep watching, keep loving the magic of movies. This is the Filmsteins, signing off.
I don't think I can.
On 3. 1, 2, 3.
I'm gonna throw up. Nobody put the baby in the corner.